Hi, and welcome to this week's video. Before we delve into the odd stories of our past, there's one comment from a video I would like to share with you. The comment was made on the video The Anglo-Saxon Stones of Ramsbury in Wiltshire. The video was mainly about those amazing Anglo-Saxon stones and the history of the church there. In the video, I mentioned that there was possibly a bishop's palace at the manor house. The comment was to confirm that in fact the manor house used to be the bishop's palace, and in fact there is still a Bishop of Ramsbury today. That Ramsbury is the only village in the UK to have a bishop. Just an interesting little fact that I thought I would share with you, and this is one thing that I love about doing these videos, is the comments like this that people share. And in future I'll make sure that I will share more of them when I can. Now, let's get into the stories of the odd histories of our past. A little while ago, we looked at an odd time of events in our history, and that was wife selling. If you haven't seen that video, I will put a link in the description. While searching this story, I came across a few other interesting stories I have to share. These next two stories are perhaps not the nicest of stories. In 1895 in London, wife beating was prohibited between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. purely because the noises kept the neighbours awake. Thankfully, times have changed. But have you heard the saying, rule of thumb, which typically refers to a broadly applicable principle or guideline derived from experience or practice rather than strict rules? It implies a rough estimate or practical approach rather than exact measurement. The origins of the phrase are somewhat debated, but one common explanation originated from the use of the thumb as a rough measuring tool before standardized units of measurement were widely adopted. However, it is important to note that the term has also been associated with historical practices that were more literal and sometimes controversial, and relates the phrase to the domestic violence by an alleged rule under English common law which permitted wife beating providing the implement used was a rod or stick no thicker than a man's thumb. Thankfully, the rule of thumb is now more commonly used in its broader sense to refer to the practical guidelines or rough estimates. There's a legend that claims that King Henry VIII of England, who wore a beard himself, introduced a tax on beards, and that his eventful successor Elizabeth I tried unsuccessfully to increase the tax. Contemporary documentation of the Tudor beard tax, however, is lacking, and the National Archives has no record of such a tax being instituted. So where this story came from, I don't know. However, the idea of a beard tax is a governmental policy that requires men to pay for the privilege of wearing a beard. While it seems there is no evidence of this happening in the UK, the most well-documented beard tax was in place in Russia during the 18th century. The tax depended upon the status of the bearded men. Those associated with the imperial court, military or government were charged 60 roubles annually. Wealthy merchants were charged 100 roubles per year. In 1772, the tax was formally repealed by Catherine the Great. The roots of the gin craze can be traced back to 1688. Gin provided an alternative to the French brandy at the time of both political and religious conflicts between British and France. Production and consumption of British gin was encouraged by the government. Additionally, no license was needed to make spirits. The consequences of the gin craze was manifold and profound. Public health suffered as gin consumption contributed to addiction, poverty, and health issues among the population. More panic gripped society as excessive gin consumption was perceived as a threat to moral order and social stability. Attempts to regulate gin production and consumption, such as the Gin Acts of 1736 and 1751. In fact, Parliament passed 5 major acts, which was designed to control the consumption of gin. By 1743, England was drinking around 2.2 gallons of gin per person per year. The gin craze began to diminish after the Gin Act of 1751. The Act lowered the annual licence fee but encouraged respectably gin selling by required licences to trade from premises rented out for at least £10 a year. Historians suggest that gin consumption was reduced not as a result of the laws but because of the rising cost of grain. The gin craze had mostly ended by 1757. In 1647, during the period of the English Civil War, the Parliament under Oliver Cromwell did indeed issue the banning of celebrating Christmas in England. They viewed Christmas as a pagan-influenced festival, and they sought to purify the Church of England from what they perceived as ungodly practices. During this time, Christmas celebrations were indeed suppressed, with measures taken to prevent traditional festivities such as feasting, decorations, and even the attending of church services on Christmas Day. Instead, it was treated as a regular working day. However, it is worth noting that this ban was not universally enforced, and in some areas people continued to celebrate Christmas in secret. The ban on Christmas celebration was eventually lifted with the restoration of the monarchy in 1660. Did you know that in ancient Egypt, pharaohs used their slaves as flycatchers? It's a fascinating and little known aspect of history. These powerful rulers would lather their slaves in honey, which would attract any flies. Imagine the scene: slaves stationed around the pharaoh's palace, swatting away bothersome insects to keep the royal's abode clean and comfortable. While this practice might seem unusual to us today, it reflects the dynamics of ancient societies where slavery was unfortunately widespread. So next time you see a fly buzzing around, perhaps think of those ancient Egyptian slaves dutifully serving as impromptu flycatchers for their rulers. While these are strange stories of our history, they are important reminders of the complexity of human nature and the unpredictable nature of events. Each story offers a glimpse into unique circumstances, motivations, and consequences that shape our world. While some may seem bizarre and even absurd, they often hold profound lessons about power, society, and the human conditions. In reflection on these strange stories of our history, we are challenged to question our assumptions, confront our biases, and appreciate the diversity of human experiences. They remind us that history is not just a series of dates and events, but a rich tapestries of stories, both ordinary and extraordinary. They remind us that the history is not just a series of dates and events. Let us embrace these stories of our history not only as curious anomalies, but a value insight into the rich tapestry of the human experience. In doing so, we enrich our understanding of the past, deepen our appreciation for the present, and the path forward into the unknown realms of the future. Before I go, I'd like to say a really big thank you to the viewers and subscribers of the channel, to the Patreons, and to those who have bought me a coffee. This channel wouldn't be the same without you. Your support has made it all worthwhile, and I'm grateful beyond words. So if you're new here, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for more contents like this. Also, click that notification bell so you'll never miss an update. Until the next time, stay safe.